Welcome to the Modern Husbands podcast, where any combination of Dr. Bruce Ross, Christian Sherrill, and Brian Page host national experts who share winning ideas to manage money in the home as a team. I'm Brian Page, founder of Modern Husbands. Sometimes our listeners want more support than a podcast can give, individual or couple support, which I can provide as an accredited financial counselor and fair play facilitator. Details can be found at modernhusbands.com. For today's episode, we welcome Alex Trippier, a dad of three who's been married for 18 years and is the host of the popular podcast, Be a Happier Parent. His mission is to help parents connect and grow. Alex shares insights on parenting, the mental load carried by women, and the dynamics of relationships. He humorously discusses the concept of a brain rental fee charged by his wife for asking where things are, highlighting the often unrecognized mental labor women perform in households. The discussion delves into the importance of humor and communication, the challenges men face with shame and vulnerability, and the insights gained from motherhood literature. The conversation concludes with actionable advice on appreciation and conflict resolution in relationships, emphasizing the need for curiosity and recognition of each other's efforts. Enjoy the show. Alex, we are thrilled to have you here from across the pond.
Really good to be here, guys.
I want to start with you sharing a little bit about yourself and your family.
Yeah, so I have got three kids who are 16, 14, and 12, a girl and two boys. I've been married for 15 years. I had kids quite young, so by the time I was 31, I had three kids. I think that's probably quite...
I was the same.
You were the same, right?
Yeah. So you're within about 8 or 9 years of being an empty nester.
Yeah.
I'm going to be an empty nester in 7 months, by the way.
Yeah. You said, and you're doing it right. You're moving to downtown Atlanta. You said,
yes, sir.
You're not going to sit around and pout. That's what you told me.
That's right, Midtown Atlanta. So 3 kids. Your wife, I'm assuming, works full time. So you're a busy family. And where in England do you live?
Northwest London.
Okay. And for folks who are in the States and don't know a lot about London, tell us what Northwest London is like. And most importantly, what are the top 3 clubs in that vicinity?
Oh, mate, I'm 44. If you see me in a club, shoot me.
No, I'm sorry, soccer clubs.
All right. Northwest London is there's a lot of families here. London, I think maybe I don't know about where you live, but I remember you saying last time we spoke that generally there's not much public transport in America. You're kind of quite restricted by cars. There's a great thing in living in London in that the actual transport system works. So my kids are they're off.
Yeah.
At 16, 14, and 12, they're out. They can get themselves around. There's actually kind of I think a lot of people move to the countryside for freedom with kids. And then you're just a non-stop Uber driver, basically, if you have kids in the countryside. So that's lovely. And I know you love football, but I don't really watch it. But I go to watch QPR with the kids because it's really cheap.
Queens Park Rangers, for those of you who are following along. I think they're in the 2nd division, which would, for baseball lovers, it's like single or double A baseball. But that's okay.
Yeah. I don't really like the game. I like the shouting. So that's where we go. Yeah.
Oh, that's I would fit right in. All right. Now, I've noticed that on your Instagram, there's one particular post that went viral, and it's really great. But I would love it if you could share, and this is from the reel, the fact that your wife charges you a brain rental fee, and just tell us about that.
So basically, it's not funny.
I'm not.
She does this thing where when
it's funny for us.
Yeah, but exactly. Yeah. She does this thing whenever I ask her, have you seen my ... She's just started saying, that's £1. So she charges me £1 every time I ask her where anything is. And actually, it's kind of like, just tell me if you know. But it's quite a good little piece of friction that gets in the way of this kind of assumption that I can just kind of count on my wife to know where all the things are in the house.
Right.
And I think I pointed out on that thing that the other day she charged me when I asked her where my hearing aids were, which is like, it's a form of disability, man. Like that's not cool. Like, just tell me if you know. I can't hear anything. Like, tell me through sign language.
How much money have you been charged now?
Well, listen, I'm going to offset it by charging the kids every time they ask me.
Nice.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah. Which weirdly they do. And I'm like, I don't know, ask your mum. Actually, no, wait.
So what I love about this just little thing, and I'm wondering, I'm going to get to whether or not this was a shtick or like this is really what happened, is that women disproportionately carry the mental load in the home, and that I'm certainly have been guilty of this for years, and it's not the case anymore. But where's the ketchup? Where's the extra toilet paper? Where's the ibuprofen? And we count on our wives to kind of keep everything that is supposed to be in order in our home in their heads. And that's taxing when they're constantly trying to deliver for you. And it's just not fair. So that's really why I wanted to ask you about this, because it does highlight the fact that we are, us three, we're grown adults, we're men, we are fully capable of knowing where the mustard is. However, it is
for a little longer.
Right. Yes, we will. And there's the science to prove that there's a reason for that. But that's a whole different conversation. However, it does bring about an important question about how much are we taxing our wives? Right. So was this a shtick? Or Alex, was this like a real thing? Tell me about it.
No, it's not a real thing. I think it's just a really good way of highlighting. Like, my wife and I,
that's smart.
Don't have our own money. It would make no sense for me to owe my wife £3,000.
Correct. Yeah, that's how my wife and I are. We have shared accounts. Yeah.
So it wouldn't really make any sense. I thought it was a really good way of illustrating something that all men do unthinkingly.
Yep.
Right? It's a knee-jerk thing. I can't find something, I'm going to ask you where it is.
Yep.
And I think the reason that's gone over 1 million, I think, is because it highlights something that's very, very annoying to women, but also, how does social media work? It's provoked outrage. It's made a lot of women really angry that I've said that.
I'm sorry, made who angry?
Women. It's like, you fucking man-child. Like, her time's worth more than £1. Like, like the fact that I've said this kind of
more.
Yeah, she should charge more. Or why am I being light-hearted about it? I need to kind of grow up and watch where my stuff is. But, one of the things that I think comes across if you look in the comments is this idea that women are like, you should be ashamed. And I think what's interesting is that men don't feel shame around things like that. We carry our guilt and shame in completely different areas. A lot of those are connected, as we've talked before, Brian, around money and how much money we make. I think there's something we've internalized, our generation of parents. We have shame around not spending time with our children, not being there. I was thinking, like, where these things come from. And for me, but the plot of every Hollywood Christmas movie is basically like, dad realizes at the last minute that spending time with his kids is more important than work. Like, they're the films that we grew up with. This is what a good dad is.
Yeah.
We don't have shame around asking our wives where stuff is. It's just not, we don't feel embarrassed by it.
How do you think that embarrassment got normalized, or that lack of embarrassment, that lack of shame got normalized?
I think, to start with, I think you can't choose what you're ashamed of. any more than you could choose a phobia or to be scared of something. I think so. These things are kind of
Right.
ingrained early. So I think we receive the messages still, and women believe it as well, internalized again, that the home is their domain, that they are the good women are in charge of the home and they run a tight ship, and that really it's not, it's not a man's area. And I think that hasn't changed at the same pace as it's been normalized for women to work.
Right. Right. And there's something that I want to highlight is the fact that you have to make your points differently in many cases, not all, to men in a different way that you would women. So in the world of social media, a lot of women, and there are some men who would never joke about it, right? But when you do and I've done this, I've looked at there's a program you can see the demographics of their followers, and they're like 99% women. So if you really want to talk to men, if you want an echo chamber of people just feeling sorry for themselves, as they should, just don't ever insert humor. But men, frankly, like a lot of us, we like to laugh, and that little lesson that you built went viral because it was engaging, it was humorous, but it's also it was a cause for pause. And it was a realization, likely for a lot of men, or for someone, people like Bruce and I who are well equipped in this area, to realize, wow, what an outstanding, tangible metaphor to help men recognize how taxing it is on so many women to shoulder all of the work at home, when in fact, most of them are working just as many hours outside of it.
Mm. Yeah, it's really interesting that thing you say of basically, if you don't insert humor, if you don't keep it light, you will end up in an echo chamber. I haven't really thought about that in humor terms. The way I've been looking at that is basically anger is a really good tool. Outrage is a really good tool to gather people who already agree with you.
Correct.
But you will never, ever get anyone to change your mind.
Yep.
To change their mind. Sorry.
Right.
So anger is a great tool for kind of getting everyone on board, but you will never convince anyone to think differently using it. And I think, we know that on a relationship level, right? With our spouses, when we're having an argument, it's like, I can either attack you and criticize you, or I can try and make you think differently. They are mutually exclusive. And that's the same when we're kind of talking with groups of people as well.
Right. I mean, anger is matched with more anger, right? So you get heated up in the moment, you match their anger, and it just escalates from there. I think in a lot of times in arguments, but probably also just with sending out these messages on podcasts or viral videos or whatever as well. And I think humor does cut across that. I think what's interesting in that too is you talked about embarrassment and shame and guilt. And when you bring these things up to the attention of hey, you're causing this tax, this mental load increasing for your wife. When you put it in that framework, there should be some shame and embarrassment. There might not be in that moment, but what's our coping mechanism to kind of adjust to that and make change? It's humor. We use humor, especially as men, when we are feeling shame or guilt or embarrassment, to kind of offset that. But it also gives us that moment to laugh, but that moment to pause and really reflect upon what we're doing.
I love that. And there's a brilliant book called Boy Mum. Are you familiar with that? By Ruth Whipman. And, you know, she's got these three boys, and, you know, she says at the beginning, she's like, you know, I love boys. I love them for the crazy humor that they will kind of adopt with each other, just as a tool to not talk about anything serious, to not, like, as a way of getting around these kind of complicated emotions. It often results in this kind of really, really wonderful humor. But I wonder if what we're saying there is that what is it about men that struggles so much with shame?
Alex, that I'm glad you brought that book up. I was on a panel with her and was unaware of the book, and immediately, first of all, after she spoke, and she has the British accent too, and it's like, okay, this is lovely to listen to. But I instantly, you know, recognized how brilliant she was. Read the book, and it, for our listeners out there, Boy Mom, highly recommend it for listeners who have children who are boys. But anyhow.
Yeah. So I just, you know, what do we think about that? You know, what are men more defensive, right? Do we struggle to kind of process shame in a way that women don't? Like, what do you guys think?
I think so. I think Brian and I have actually talked a lot about this too. We struggle as men just in general about just showing vulnerability. And I mean, shame, embarrassment, guilt. I mean, those are highly vulnerable emotions. And again, I think the humor comes in to deflect that or offset some of that vulnerability that we're outwardly possibly showing.
So this was the setup of this series of questions is actually not on our sheet. So this was not set up for design. But I'm writing a book with J.R. Haviland, and, you know, kind of the idea is some humorous settings with solutions. And J.R. won seven Emmys writing for The Daily Show for Jon Stewart. And so, you know, together our goal is, you know, to try to break through to men in ways to help them understand, you know, how they can be better partners, but doing so while they're sitting on the toilet. It's going to be a bathroom book, like little short stories, you know,
They're
like 3 to 5
intrinsically
minutes.
vulnerable.
But yeah, like our thought is, like, I think at least for me, I handle like really tough circumstances best when there's something. It's almost like I have to balance out the pain with a laugh. That's how I am personally. And there's some pain to that, right? There's a little bit of shame to that. And whatever circumstances are, I mean, like, your reel obviously hit the nail on the head. And it was popular for all the reasons that we talked about. But I don't think it's uncommon for somebody to try to balance that feeling of pain and anguish out with something lighthearted. I mean, we see it in sports all the time. You know, I'm sure you guys grew up playing sports. I played sports all the time, and you always give each other crap whenever something happens. You know, you don't celebrate a lot of like their greatness, but you do poke fun at each other when something happens. That's funny. And I don't know, it's just almost how we interact with one another. Anyway,
we're socialized from just a very young age for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to go off if this is nothing that you want to talk about, but I just find this so fascinating. So I'll just quickly say it.
No,
right?
Go ahead.
But I just, you know, that kind of giving each other crap, right, that we talk about, which was the basic form of communication. I'm 44, but I would say of all my friendships until about 4 years ago, when something shifted where it was like, do you know what? I'm going to be vulnerable. I'm going to be vulnerable. I'm going to be more direct. I'm going to be more open. But always beneath that really quite brutal kind of level of conversation was a lot of love.
Yes.
And a huge amount. I've got a very loving group of friends, male friends. And do you know Gilgamesh? Which is like this 4th century BC, at least, epic. It's like very, very old, Assyrian epic. And in Gilgamesh, the gods create Gilgamesh, like the perfect friend, Enkidu, and they create this being to be his friend. And Enkidu arrives like on the planet, and him and Gilgamesh take one look at each other, and they fucking go at it. Like they just kind of wrestle, and the pillars of the temple get knocked down, and they're chucking each other everywhere. And then they fall into a heap, and they laugh, and they become like the best friendship that the universe has ever seen. And it's almost like there's something archetypal in men that needs this kind of testing, aggression, push and pull. It's like, are you a worthwhile ally? There's something going on there other than just pure avoidance.
Right. But there is, like you said, there is love underneath it.
Huge.
This is just a little example, but I think that's one of the reasons that fantasy football teams are so popular in the States. Is because it's something that you can totally give all your buddies shit about. You can compete with one another, but it's not too terribly serious. There's love underneath it, but a lot of men, and I'll say we love to rib each other. And if we're not ribbing each other, it's because we don't know each other well enough yet. In many cases, or we don't really, we don't love each other or whatever. It's maybe like people that are kind of like acquaintances. But once you get to the point where you can really give each other shit, that's when you're
really
a friend.
close. You're being really horrible to me. Wow. Yeah. I didn't realize. Oh, we are. Yeah, we are.
All right, Bruce. I know you had a question that was probably a little bit more on topic.
Bringing it back, I mean, you brought up Boy Mom, the book. So, Alex, how did you start reading motherhood books? How did you get into that?
So I went on this kind of amazing family holiday to the Seychelles. One of my youngest brother lives in the Seychelles, and we went as a family. And my younger brother was there with his two kids who were like, 1 and 3, kind of tough ages where you're kind of, there's no relaxing. And I didn't enjoy that holiday because it was like watching me and my wife replayed back to me like 8 years before. And my brother is, we're very similar, but his wife is nothing like my wife. And it really, my wife and I, we'd had some rough times. We'd done some kind of Gottman work. We worked out that a lot of it was about our personal values clashing. It was really wonderful. But watching my brother with this woman who was nothing like my wife made me realize that this wasn't about me and Eloise. There was something really systemic that was going on for people at this age. And then, as I said, I had kids early. I was looking around at all my other mates who were, who also had young kids. And, they were great dads. They were involved. They loved their kids, and their relationships were really suffering. And it was just this kind of dynamic of really angry mums with these kind of baffled dads who were like, what? I feel like I can't do anything right. Mm-hmm. And it made me really sad. It's this kind of period of life. I don't know if you guys saw the Bob Odenkirk thing that went viral, where he was saying, the person, who are you jealous of? He's the actor from Better Call Saul. And he was like, I'm jealous of anyone with small kids at home. And he's basically, you have this one period of your life where your purpose is right there. You know what you're supposed to be doing. Like, it should be an existentially amazing period, but it was ruining the relationships around me. And I picked up a book that was in my house called The Motherhood Complex by Melissa Hoggenboom, who was on your who was at your event.
Oh, she's wonderful.
And I picked up this book about motherhood, and it was like there was words, there was phrases for all these things that were going wrong. there was a debate that was raging about the mental load, about maternal gatekeeping, about micromanagement, all these things. But no one was telling men, as far as I was concerned, like no one was talking to men about it at all. And I've always worked with really young kids. So I worked with loads of mums, and then other mums were like, right, you need to read Matrescence by Lucy Jones. You need to read Fair Play by Eve Rodsky. And I just got hooked on these books because it's like, obviously I've read books by women before. I'm a big reader, but to see something that you've experienced retold from a completely different angle with a completely different set of ideals and have someone that inner life described by really good writers, it was just amazing, you know. And it allowed me to have conversations with my wife that I never thought I would have been able to have. Like, we couldn't talk about when the kids were young without breaking into a massive row. And then all of a sudden we had vocabulary to talk about what was happening.
Listeners have told us that they love the ideas we share on our podcast to manage money in the home as a team, but want more help than one episode can provide. That's why I'm excited to announce On the Same Page Consulting for corporations, couples, and individuals. Visit modernhusbands.com and click Our Services at the top of the page to learn more about how I can help you or your employees manage money in the home as a team. Again, that's modernhusbands.com. Now back to the show. We need to have Melissa back on to talk about the motherhood complex. I'm going to read that. I just put it up on Amazon. I'm going to order it. For our listeners, like we had Melissa on. By now it's definitely loaded. It's a past episode. She wrote Breadwinners, and she's with BBC, and it's probably one of the best books I've ever read. She's brilliant. So anyhow, yeah, listen to that episode, grab that book, and I've got a book up here. I'll put it in the show notes, The Motherhood Complex. Alex, thank you for sharing that. A light bulb just went up over my head, because it's so important to recognize life through the lens of other people. And, you know, kudos to you for taking a step toward that journey of what it must be like to be a mom, because it's a totally different world to better understand it.
I think what's interesting in what you said is that now, like at this time, then you were being pushed in like to read these books or like suggested these books. How often do we suggest to other men, go read Fair Play? Like in society, like how often do we suggest go read these other perspective books?
And to be fair to men, you know, Fair Play is the narrative voice of Fair Play assumes you're a woman in a heterosexual relationship.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
It says, like, you know, and if he doesn't like it, you tell him this, you know, that is how the narrative voice works.
And it's really more of a pragmatic kind of utilitarian book to create a system. Yeah. I mean, it's not like, I would imagine the motherhood complex is more like her first person journey. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about it without giving it away.
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, Melissa, it's insanely well researched. Like, it's very, very, very data heavy. But, you know, I think the book opens with her working at the BBC. She's got like a big shot interview with David Attenborough, but she's pregnant. And this realization that actually pregnant women are the antithesis of everything that's required in a kind of male-dominated workforce, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like, you know, they're vulnerable, then they need things, they need to be, whereas the whole kind of workplace is you press on, you keep going, you don't get tired, and then it was just like, and this is just sounds, sorry, it's making me a bit sad, but I never really thought about my wife being pregnant. Like, you know, all we cared about was the baby inside her.
Yeah.
She was pregnant 3 times. And, you know, on the first time you have a book that's like, it's the size of a grape, it's the size of a avocado. I don't know why they're fruit, but anyway, you know, it keeps charting the baby. You know, how are you? I'm tired. No change there then. You've been saying that for 15 years. Like, there was no none of us, including her, really ever kind of lent into this fact that she was two people.
Yeah.
She was already a mom. Do you know what I mean? Like, she was already making decisions about her own energy, her own career versus what she's going to do for that child. And yeah, I'd missed all of that, and was, yeah, and just really defensive. Everything seemed like criticism to me, and I just feel like our attention was in the wrong place.
Was your attention focused on preparation, of feeling like there are all these things that need to be done, almost like a list for your child to make the best possible life for your child? But no, tell us about what it was like.
I don't know. You guys don't have the NCT there, but we have the National Childbirth Trust, and that is the kind of thing that you go to for kind of like hypnobirthing, some version of hypnobirthing, and basically natural birth is their shtick. It's like, you can give birth without drugs, and really that's what you should do. Lucy, have you read Matrescence by Lucy Jones?
Mm-mm.
Oh, what a book. I mean, and also, she can really, really write, that woman. She's amazing. I did an episode of my podcast with her. But, everything is focused, certainly in this country, of getting this baby out of your wife.
Yeah.
Getting this baby out.
Yeah.
You can't really think beyond that, because it's terrifying. And then the only real focus that everyone puts on is, if you're going to be a good mum, you've got to breastfeed. And then all the training and education is on that. So no, we weren't thinking beyond the birth, really. Like, I don't know if people can, but we weren't thinking about my wife. And then certainly in the time after the labor, we weren't thinking about my wife. And again, I don't know what it's like where you are, but midwives, the people, the health visitors, the doctors, they treated my wife like she was making a bit of a fuss. And when she was kind of complaining or saying this wasn't going well, or she felt sick, it's like, yeah, very, very dismissive. And eventually you take that on yourself. It's like, if all these professionals are treating you like you're banging on about it a bit, love, then you're like, well, maybe you are. That's kind of what the professionals seem to think.
Mm.
And I just think that's, those moments really were the start of a pulling apart between us.
What comes to my mind is a past episode with Ashley Brichter. Do you remember this one, Bruce, from Birth Smarter? Mm-hmm. And she focuses really heavily on tending to the needs of both the man and the woman in a traditional heterosexual relationship. And a lot of it's like different massage techniques because she's in pain, different ways to get centered together. And I had not put two and two together until just at this moment, until you were so vulnerable in sharing the fact that, and I would probably be in this camp as well, didn't consider to go deeper in listening to what it was like for my wife to carry around a child, because we're so concerned with, like what you said, like the delivery and the preparation, and it's almost like a checklist. And I while we're on the topic of great books to look at life through the lens of women, please read What's on Her Mind by Dr. Ashley Daminger. She's a past podcast guest. That was a tremendous book. And then Dr. Corrine Lowe, who's a past podcast guest, that episode should be up by the time this goes up, wrote We Can Have It All. She teaches at Wharton. And it's just data rich of how women spend their time and how we being husbands can be supportive of that, because women traditionally have far less leisure time, right? What can we do to equalize that? So anyway, you've been doing a podcast for a really long time, right? Or has it been long? No, it hasn't. You only have 26 episodes, right?
I'm just a young buck compared
You are.
to you.
You are. Yeah. So what are 3 things that you've learned from doing the podcast that you wish you would have known earlier in your marriage?
So I think, the first one, and you and I talked a bit about this in your episode, but is that you can't put your relationship on the back burner. So, I guess that feeds it right from the start, right? We're totally fixated on that, on that child, then getting that child out, then feeding it. Like, my wife was basically a vending machine to get stuff out of, milk and babies, like, and then
That's your soundbite there, Brian.
Boy, you thought you were getting some commentary earlier about your post. Wait till this one goes live.
That's the viral clip there.
And then I think so obviously you're sleep deprived. There's loads of reasons why we do it. There's not a lot of spare energy. But the other reason, which is less discussed why we do it, is that we get so much love and joy from that infant, even more so from mums. Esther Perel talks about this. It's a really sensual experience. It's looking in the eyes. It's the smell. It's the feel of skin on skin. But it's not just, it's like, ugh, I don't have energy for you. It's like, you don't want anything else. And it's the same for men. Like, if you're working, you're not rushing home to see your wife anymore. You're rushing home to see this kid. Like, it's so wonderful. And what we do is we're like, look, Eve Rodsky said to me, the 3 things that kill relationships when you have parents are 4 things. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Right.
Agreed.
And you said to me, Ryan, you were like, you're right. This is a small business. We're running a small business. Right.
Yep.
And what we do is we're like, running a small business is really, really hard. So we'll talk about how we're going to do it, what we think the business actually is, how we communicate. We'll do that after we've been running it for a couple of years, right? It's idiotic, but
correct.
It's what we all do. So that
Yep.
would be my first one, right? Just don't put it off. Like, find the way to have those conversations. I think the second is basically the stuff we kind of covered at the beginning around masculinity. It's like, all right, we may think that men and women are the same or equal or, moving there, but we feel completely differently about mums and dads. And when I got into these books about motherhood, the thing that just jumps out and kind of smashes you in the face is this guilt, shame, judgment, guilt, shame. It's just kind of back to this all the time. And dad guilt is there, but it's that thing I said. It's like, should I be making resources for my child, or should I be spending time with the child? It's real, it's painful, but it's simple, and it's kind of resolvable. Whereas actually, mum guilt isn't. The things within it are contradictory. There's kind of no wins for the mums. I think that's what really separates it from dad guilt. It's irresolvable. So, I think, to give just a clear example of that the 3 of us will be like, right, yes, we know that one, is the maternal instinct. It's just this idea that through the process of being pregnant and giving birth, mums miraculously transform into mothers who know exactly what to do. They know how to do things. They know how to run a home. Whereas actually what happens is, because they've been told that and ashamed if they don't, they do a shitload of research.
Yep.
They put loads and loads of work in, because to not be able to do all those things would just be awful.
Yep.
Lots of mental energy, lots of emotional energy, just running into it.
And then we're like, oh, okay, sorry, you're saying I'm doing it wrong. Okay, that's wrong. That's wrong. All right. Okay, you do seem to know best. But if we all get stuck in this place of mum knows best, we're all screwed. Like it's really, it's bad for everyone. It's bad for them. It's bad for us. It's bad for the kids. Like if mums become the expert on the child, it's bad news. So that would be the second one. And then the third one is just like, you've got to learn how to fight well. You've got to learn how to argue
Right.
well.
Because everyone argues.
Right. Like when you become parents, you're going to have like all the values that you've grown up with, like your stuff about money scripts, fascinating. But like all these values, all your gendered values that you think what a good man is versus a good woman, you're going to be asked to advocate for them or defend them or surrender them. Like that's going to happen. So, and it's not a bad thing if you know how to do it well. So it's just like spend that time learning about conflict and learning how to manage conflict. I think I could have taken those on board maybe, or it would have been really helpful to know.
Yeah, that last point resonated. I think it was one of the most like epiphany things that I had like back in like when I was doing my original like therapy training in my master's, reading this text, and they're like, you should be arguing. You should be having conflict because you're two different people with different perspectives, different experiences, bringing in different ideas about how you want the family or the small business to run, right? But it's how you have that, how you handle that conflict, how you have that conflict. And it's actually some of the unhappiest couples are the ones that are fighting at all. They're just basically living there as like roommates and doing their own separate things. Like that conflict it's natural because we're two different people.
Yeah. And if you're not exactly. If you're not arguing, it's one of two things. One is that you don't care about anything, which is highly unlikely. Apathy. And the other one is that one of you is not saying anything or has given up, which is just
someone's needs are not being addressed. Like,
yes.
No, I think it's really well said, Alex. Well, through the podcast, through your readings, what do you see as the biggest problem caused when there's inequity in the home?
We basically get into a downward spiral of kind of withholding appreciation, and I think it usually goes like this. The invisible load is called that for a reason, right? I didn't understand it until I picked up these books, but I can't see it, so I'm not thanking you for it. In response, which is completely reasonable, you're not going to show me any appreciation for any of the things that I'm doing. So like I would have the kids all day. I would take them to all the clubs. I had a brilliant job where I was around for everything. I did every bath time. I put them to bed. But I was like, nothing I do seems to be worth anything. Like you're still stressed out. You're still cross. But when I read the books, it was like, I haven't said thank you for any of the stuff that you've done. Like, why would you thank me for mine? And it's just a terrible situation. And feeling appreciated it's just, I think there's this thing, sometimes women are like, see me, hear me. And as men, we're like, I'm looking at you, you're talking, I'm doing those things. Like what they're talking about is appreciation, right? And like this morning, I was stressing about money and I lost some kind of paid work. And Eloise could see that I was like wound up. And she said, look, you're working really hard. You're doing all the things. Just, it's going to come. We're going to be fine. We're going to come. I could have, it was in my body. It was this release of tension. I could have cried, which you've now worked out I do quite easily. But it's beautiful. So I think that's the main problem. When there's a lack of equity, it translates into this kind of war of no one showing appreciation to the other person. And it just, everyone loses. It's just this atmosphere of resentment.
You brought up Gottman earlier, and that Gottman was clear that strong marriages, he sees in strong marriages 5 positive interactions for every negative interaction. And it's a little thing, it's a stray text, but my wife,
and that's on average, Brian.
That's on average, yeah.
Like,
that's on average.
Some couples, some families, they need 7, they need 9.
That's a great point. I got a text last night. It's important for my wife to have the bed made, but she doesn't like to make it. I make the bed every day, and I'm sitting there doing my thing last night, and I just get a text. Thank you for making the bed. Love you. And I know listeners might be thinking,
it's almost pathetic, isn't it?
Jesus, this is all, like a puppy dog or whatever. But it's
huge.
It's really nice to get those. And I send those to her as well. Why not? Why not, when you see something that's been done, why not thank them for it? Right? It just strengthens the bond.
What's the biggest win in your relationship, do you think?
I think we both let go of being right. I think, like, me picking up books that showed me that there was a completely different view on everything has made me question everything. It's made me question all the things that I think are right or wrong or good or bad. And really, my wife used to be so certain, and in her defense, it was one of the things that attracted me to her. She was 8 years older than me. She was just so definite about everything that I was like, wow, you really seem to have this life thing plugged. But actually, when we started arguing, that made things really difficult. And when I changed and I became more like, right, wow, there's this whole viewpoint I've been missing out on, she changed as well. And now we don't always manage it, but most of the time when we disagree, it's not based on who's right or wrong. It's like, this is the way I feel. Why do you feel like that? Let's talk about why that is. Let's get curious, not furious. You sort of find these, and then you're finding out about these other people's values, and it's just mind blowing. It's like, what? Wow, yeah, okay. That's the difference. It's like letting go of being right. It's just so powerful.
Get curious, not furious.
It's good because it rhymes.
I need that. Yeah. And all the words are less than 2 syllables. Like that makes it a winner for me. No, curious. Yes. See, I did the clap. That's 3. It's like, boy, Yanks. I'm stretching
ruining English
here.
So, Alex, where can listeners learn more about you and your podcast? Since, you've obviously been an amazing guest today.
Thank you, man. I loved
so incredibly
all of that. It was great. It was really, really wonderful. My podcast is Be a Happier Parent, and it's on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all those places. And my Instagram is Be a Happier Parent. And yeah, it was just that was really, really awesome to chat with you guys. I loved it.
And we'll definitely link it. But as we always like to end our podcasts, I guess, what is one piece of simple and actionable advice you can leave with our listeners?
Just think, going off what Brian just said there about the made bed, like, just go and look. Go and look for 3 things, right? That your partner, whether you're a man or a woman, has done for you today, and the reward you will get to your relationship for just kind of bringing those up in a text message or a comment is enormous. I mean, what an investment, right? For such little energy, just because you'll find them really easily. 3 things they've done for you, today, and just say thank you or bring them up or praise them. Let's all go and do it now.
Don't leave just yet. Be sure to like and subscribe before you do. And a reminder to visit modernhusbands.com if you're looking for money and home management support in your life. Just click the Our Services button at the top of the page. Again, that's at modernhusbands.com. And many thanks to our co-hosts, our guests, and of course, all of you for joining today.